Another widespread myth is that the Americans established their prosperity by fleecing the resources of less developed countries and exploiting their peoples. Excuse me, but what resource theft are we talking about? Who is really to blame for economic backwardness, poverty, misery, and disease in third world countries? From whom did America take away diamonds, metals, oil? From Iran? From Venezuela? From Saudi Arabia? Who is stealing from whom? Generally, the USA has a negative trade balance with the countries of the third world. The USA pays more for raw materials to these countries than it receives from them in payment for its goods. Over the past 15 years, oil-producing nations have raised oil prices 6 to 7 times. This means that they receive this many times more for their God-given resources. Where the rulers had enough sense to properly dispose of the profits coming from the sky, the people live very well, sometimes even better than the American people. But those countries that spend the receipts on the senseless ambitions of their political leaders, dictators, and tyrants, on the enrichment of the ruling classes, on bureaucratic corruption, keep blaming all their problems on whom? The answer is not hard to guess. America.
أمريكا هي العدو الأول لشعب فلسطين وللأمة الإسلامية والعربية. نعم، أمريكا هي العدو الأول لهذا الشعب. أمريكا هي العدو الأول للأمة الإسلامية.
Take Cuba, for example. The Cubans, nearly 50 years ago, broke off economic relations with the U.S., which no longer exploits them. The result? Cuba is one of the poorest countries in Latin America. Moreover, the most petty and improbable myths and accusations are constantly arising. The spread of AIDS all over the world? This was done by the hands of American Secret Services operatives. CIA agents are everywhere, undermining all progressive regimes and setting up constant provocations. For this purpose, they insidiously make use of charitable and humanitarian foundations. American culture corrupts other nations, dictates alien values. Scientific cooperation is only a way of organizing a brain drain to America or of collecting intelligence data. In general, any act by the United States in the international arena necessarily gives rise to more and more accusations. All these myths and accusations are easy to disprove, but people believe in them. Millions of people, because they want to believe them. The true reasons for this lie deep in the unconscious and are founded on hidden human complexes. First among them is the ordinary human feeling of envy. Always and everywhere, the poor have envied the rich. The sick have envied the healthy. Plain people have envied beautiful people. Failures have envied the fortunate. And this goes not only for individual qualities, but also for social groups and whole nations. America is a flourishing country. Americans live well. They enjoy their lives. While we are poor and we fight over a piece of bread, we have a mass of injustices. Who is guilty for that? The United States of America. Whether America is really guilty or not no longer matters much. The important thing is that we have found the source of evil. It is them. They are guilty of everything. Another complex is connected with resistance to change, with conservatism of consciousness. The speed with which America moves along the path of world progress, with other Western countries following right behind, is incompatible with the slow steps of backward and poor countries, which are left on the sidelines of progress. Those who are hopelessly left behind, who find themselves in a historical dead end, seek a way out from that position and find the easiest way out. We have no chance to become leaders without accepting the basic values of world civilization? The idea of salvation is this: reverse course, diametrically change global goals. We are the salt of the earth. Up with medievalism, down with soulless technological civilization, up with originality, right religion, and age-old traditions. It is amazing to contemplate, but many Europeans, and above all, Members of the European intellectual elite, such as journalists, artists, and politicians, are in the same camp. They have their own complexes, which are difficult to understand and explain in the same manner. For many centuries, Europe was the cradle of Western civilization, a recognized leader in science, art, politics. European thinkers created contemporary humanist ideology based on human rights. And suddenly, leadership swam away across the ocean. Naturally, there were offended feelings, jealousy, a desire to unseat the usurper. Just recently, European countries possessed enormous empires, and their power determined the political map of the world. Until now, the populations of these countries, especially the elites, suffer from imaginary pains over their lost empires. This is true especially with regard to Russia. Only yesterday Russia was a mighty superpower, but today she is just another European country, offended by the lost Cold War, which deprived the country of its imperial status. A hope for revenge boils underneath her consciousness. These complexes motivate the actions of a majority of European journalists and politicians who exploit any opportunity to slander America. Violence and human rights violations in many countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America do not call forth even a fraction of the indignation that European society expresses in relation to the violations of the rights of prisoners. Extremely dangerous terrorist killers in Guantanamo, who do not always receive their coffees on time. How did the Americans dare to lead a few of these arrested fighters or terrorist leaders through European airports without letting the world know about it and without informing the comrades of the arrested terrorists? Similar complexes are at the base of the behavior of the youth circus of anti-globalists jumping from one country to another. They are fighting against American imperialism by recklessly crushing cars, smashing shop windows, and maiming policemen who are not guilty of anything. Psychologists maintain that hatred toward the United States in many countries is like hatred of the police and cannot find rational explanations for this. On the other hand, the bellicose enmity toward the United States on the part of all types of dictators and totalitarian regimes can be explained in a fully rational way. Here he is, a respected and beloved leader. He is almost a god, an idol at any rate. They sing hymns to him, they glorify him, they bow down to him. He is a demigod. One has to hate the enemy and be prepared for war with him. By the way, military preparations are an excellent means for even deeper control of one's people. In some countries, preparation for war with America becomes the meaning of and most fundamental goal justifying the government's existence. All to war against the hated enemy, and the enemy becomes even more hated, simply satanic.
En este mismo lugar huele a azufre todavía esta mesa donde me ha tocado hablar.
Warmed by this type of angry propaganda, millions of people would like to throw themselves into war with the hated enemy tomorrow. Already, thousands of fanatics are prepared to blow themselves up. Already, crowds are chanting, "Death to America!" Just imagine that the furious hatred of millions acquires such force that it calls forth a worldwide cataclysm that throws the USA off the globe into another galaxy. Hooray! It happened! The great anti-American dream came true. The world has parted with the source of evil. The path to universal happiness is open. But then all the holidays end, the weekdays begin, and we return to our everyday routines. And immediately we notice the changes. We turn on the TV. No more Hollywood movies. No serials. No popular shows and no celebrities. Well,